Hello and welcome to this third tutorial video on how to make a button jointed ragdoll. These are the two back sections of the body with these extra bits we've left to help you when you're closing up the back, and with right sides together, wrong sides out. I'm going to lay them one on top of the other, so that's wrong sides out, and starting at a recognised point I'm going to start pinning them together down the back just to the top of that notch there where that opening is. We're going to leave that open and then we're going to go down to here. It's a really blustery night here. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick up the sound of the wind at the windows outside. So if you're listening to this on a glorious summer's day, it's going to make you feel a bit wintry. There's another notch there. We'll line that up. And then one more just here. And we're going to sew this little section here, and then from here down to there. Here is the same kind of thing, but this is the front of the body now, and there is no opening on this, so we can do the same thing. Lay one on top of the other, right sides in, wrong sides out, and we'll pin this one together all the way down, starting with the most obvious point so that we can make sure we line it up nicely. So the top and the bottom there, we don't have that opening in the middle to help guide us. So it's best to start with very definite sections. Just check for any notches, make sure they line up. It is especially important with this body that we line it up very accurately. And we'll sew all the way down there, 5mm seam allowance. So here's the back with the two pieces sewn together. We can tell it's the back because it's got that opening, and I've got the neck back there, and I'm going to pin the two together. So there are notches on the narrower bottom section of this neck that we're going to line up. The centre one will line up with the seam that runs down the centre of the back. So I'm going to start off on the outside, pin that in place, and then across to the other side, making sure you're picking up the narrower piece. You don't want to pick up the top of the neck at this point, and pin that in place. There we go. And then to the middle, line it all up. You can come back to the centre in between your pins and line it up, but get your main points pinned in first. And again on this side, line it up and pop a pin there, and then start going in between and easing the smaller section in. Same on this side, ease it in. And then we're going to sew across that section. Now I've got the neck and the front of the body. There's the front neck. Again, narrower at the bottom than at the top, the neck. So there's the top, here's the bottom. So we're going to line at the bottom, and again it's wrong sides out, right sides in. Start off with that centre notch on this one. This is a much tighter curve on the neck, so it's even more important to ease around the curve. And then to the outer section there, up by the shoulder, and pin that in place, around to the other side, and there, and then in between the two, as I say, a much tighter curve, so much more important that you get that curve nice and even. I'm going to do this by hand so I can watch every single stitch and make sure I'm doing it smoothly, and then sew across that line there. Now I have a front body and a back body, and I'm going to put wrong sides out, right sides in, pop them on top of each other, and I'm going to do the shoulder sections across here and actually up the neck as well and the bottom. So start off on the outer edge of the shoulder and pin that in place, and then I'm going to go straight up to the center here where the neck and the body joins on both sides, front and back, so that gives me a good seam on both pieces to line up. Put one in between there, and then I'm going to go line that up perfectly and pin the top. That's the top of the neck. There. See if I can fit one in between. And the same on the other side. Start off at the shoulder. And then to the two seams, line up the two seams. I'll probably fold one way and one the other, so I'll probably fold the top seam to the left and the bottom seam to the right and just go straight over the top when I'm sewing. There we go, one in between there, and that's the shoulder and neck. I'm going to sew all the way around those, and then let's get the bottom pinned. Again, you've got, it's a nice short piece, so it's good and easy to line it up. Outer edge, center seam, and the other outer edge. There we go. Put one more in there, and I'm going to sew across there. So that's the shoulder and neck, and across the bottom. Now we've got our body sewn together, and we're going to insert the two side pieces. Now they have notches and they're differently spaced, so make sure you've got them the right way up. There are shorter gaps between notches at the top than at the bottom. So shorter gaps there, and they'll line up with these two quite close gaps. And then round at the bottom you've got wider notches or spaces between your notches. So let's line up the very top. It's a fractionally narrower curve at the top, I think a little less elongated, so line up that top notch with the center of the shoulder seam, which is that one there, and then I'm going to go down to the very bottom, and make sure your side isn't twisted. Make sure you've got it right sides in, wrong sides out. Line that up, pin that in place there. So that's that bottom notch, top and bottom done. Now look at the other notches on there and make sure they line up. If you find that there's a big gap between the notch on your side and the notch on your body, you've probably got it the wrong way up. And if that's the case, you're going to need to just take it out, turn it over. So you might have to ease these notches about a little bit, but they shouldn't be too far apart. There we go, next one down there. Here we go. Keep lining them up as you go around. There's the third one. There's 1, 2, 3 notches down the side. Line up that third one. Gosh, it is so blustery here. It's actually a really wild wintry night in Lyme Regis. Right, we're gonna got those pinned in there. We're going to turn it over. It'd be really interesting to know where you are when you're sewing your ragdoll, so drop me a comment in the link at the bottom under the video and let me know where you are, where you're sewing. It's wild and wintry, and I can hear the waves crashing against the beach. It's lovely and cosy actually being in the warm. Something about being inside, isn't there, when it's horrible outside. So there's that centre one there, pin that in place, and then we're up to the top again. Okay, that's that. Now what we want to do is start going in between the pins we put in place for the notches and just securing these longer sections. And there. So I'm going to put at least one pin in between each of the notches, especially here on the curve. Round to the other side, just there. That's lovely there. Line up your edges, make sure they're even. The more time you take at this point, the nicer the shape of the body's going to be. It's worth spending a bit of extra time. You're making something beautiful, don't rush it. There we go. It teaches us patience, this does, doesn't it? This is what makes it a gift, the time that we're putting into this now. Okay, this is the lower curve. Just there. I'm going to put another one because this is a longer curve, this bottom section, so it can take another pin. Just there. Okay, looks like a hedgehog. Line that up. And I'm going to pop another one there. Okay. Can I ease another one in there? There we go. That's good. Yep. So that's the side all in place, in between the front and the back. And we're going to go all the way around that. All the way around the curve and all the way back up the other side. So it's like almost a figure eight. There we go. And we're going to do the same with the other side. So I'm actually going to show you that going in as well, but I'll speed it up a little bit, I think. But we'll do the first bit. We get that lined up first to make sure we've got that spot on. So this section here, top and the bottom. Look at your spacing on your notches. The smaller, shorter gaps between notches at the top. And pin that in place. That's the top of the shoulder notch. And then right down to the bottom. to do the bottom notch, lines up with that centre seam at the bottom on the body, and then I'll just pin all around. But speed it up so you don't have to watch me do it all normal speed. I really wish I could do it at this speed. How many dolls I could make! Life would be so much easier. Okay, so that's taking the time to check all of those notches, whatever speed you're working at. There we go. And I will actually add extra pins to this all the way around. But as you can see, there you go, that's that all in place. And that gives us a completed body. There's the opening at the back. And now we just need to add the neck gusset. Now the neck gusset and the head gusset are the same. It's a circle, it's got 4 notches, and we're going to place the first one into this section at the top of the neck. And really handy, we have notches on the front and the back of the neck, notches on the neck gusset. So line those up first of all. Pop a pin in there, and then I'm going to go around to the back and do that one. So lining up the notches. Just there. And then to the sides, so you can line up the notches with the side seams. Just there. There we go. Pop a pin in there. Can do one on this side as well of the seam. And then around to the other side. Now it's quite important you get your seam allowance correct here, 5mm, because then your button that you're going to put into the neck is going to fit. And you want a nice tight fit so that the neck's quite flat. So again, I would suggest you consider sewing this bit by hand unless you're very confident with your machine sewing. I do just love to hand sew, so I do an awful lot of it by hand, which is why I'm not a very prolific doll maker. I actually enjoy the process of sitting and quietly sewing. That one in there. Pop a last one into there. And that's all done. So with the last pin going in, we're ready to sew all the way around the outside of that neck gusset, and our body's finished. That concludes our tutorial video. I hope it's been helpful. If it has, please subscribe. We'd love your feedback and a like. There are more videos coming soon.